Well, it's pretty interesting. You know, we were just talking about it on the way up here. Here we are in December, and today's the first time in all of 2020, for obvious reasons, that we've actually been able to get out and, and get together with some guys, from interstate, some of the manufacturers, and test some 2021 model bikes. So here at the home of our Transmoto 8-hour at Stroud, and first of all, it's bloody good to be here. So 2021 models. Here with Derek Grundy, who looks after the Motul Pirelli Sherco off-road racing team, but also is an area manager for Sherco. You've had a lot of experience in dealerships, so
that's correct.
We thought what we'd do, these new 2021 models, both the racing, which is the sort of standard model, and the factory, the up-spec model. Maybe just have a bit of a chat to Derek, get a bit more of an insight into what they've done between the 20 and 21 models, and then talk about the differences between the standard racing model and the up-spec factory model. Interesting, mate. I think it'd be fair to say that, there are quite a few changes to engine, bodywork, suspension this year from 2021. You'd have to say probably that the new Counterbalancer, added to the two-stroke models is probably spearheads the changes for 2021.
So the key change for us for 21 with our two-stroke is the Counterbalancer, which obviously aids with engine vibration and really smooths out both the 250 and the 300.
I think gives a much more refined feel is the feedback that most people do when they get on a two-stroke that's just integrated
definitely
a Counterbalancer. Hey?
Very noticeable. First impressions, once you ride the bike, you will feel it straight away.
Okay, mate. Let's go behind the scenes with the brochure. Hey, I mean, the brochure. I think when you look at it, they're talking about performance, reduce weight, and improve durability. That's the kind of theme, I guess, of the 2021 models. But look, let's talk a little bit about that in detail. So look, starting with the plastics, the window dressing, like they've had inlaid graphics for a few years now, but now I think both the factory and racing models share the same graphics, is that right?
That's correct, yes. So for 21, our bikes look almost identical. So they've got the in-mold graphics, but from a distance, they look quite the same.
Okay. Explore fork introduced a few years ago from WP just on the racing model only, Kyb on the factory. I think they've introduced the tool-free fork preload adjuster, so you got 036.
So that could be done on the fly. You pull up, you can add a little bit more preload with the extra preload adjuster being added to the fork.
Yeah, and just a nice tool-free thing, and if you're riding sand or something with really hilly, just have that extra
got the ability to change
adjustability. Yep. A few little other cosmetic changes. I think, what is it, grips, frame guards and seat have all gone from blue to black this year, so I actually like it. I think it was a bit too blue last year.
Yeah, so the racing model has the black seat, the black domino grips on the racing, and we've got a softer compound blue grip on the factory model. Okay,
just staying with, I guess, the shared model across the range for 2021. New rear brake return spring. Bit of a problem, the one was too light. What was the deal with that?
Yeah, I think a little bit light. And being able to fit the spring, if you do have a problem with the spring, it's been a great improvement and easier access to the pedal.
And then let's talk about the tyres. They come with standard Michelin FIMs, but you stuck some Pirellis on. I think we've got what have we got there? The Midsoft MX32 front.
So MX32 and the XC on the rear.
Yeah.
Reason why we did this, we find with our race team, it's possibly the best all-round tyres to run on these bikes, or any bike for that matter. We have a really good run with them, so we just felt today it would give you a really good feel to be on the Pirellis.
Okay. So let's look. That's the sort of, I guess, the shared mods. Let's look a little bit into the engine mods. I mean, the 125, which we don't have here today, two-stroke. It's got a new crankshaft assembly for a bit of added reliability. So on the 250-300 two-stroke, the SE models, new counterbalancer, as we talked about. Quite a bit of, I think, reduced 1.2 kilos with engine weight, overall. About 600 grams of which is in the transmission. So there's been quite a lot of shaving of weight internally. Is that to sort of reduce the inertia, or literally just they've found that they can make some weight savings on those things?
I think it is to do with inertia and the way the transmission works now. They're a little bit more efficient, and it actually gives a smoother feel with shifting.
Yeah, and we're talking before. I mean, I think we've gone from big heavy nut on the countershaft pocket to a clip now. So there's just a lot of little refinements like that that have saved weight but haven't compromised reliability.
Correct, yeah.
The other interesting thing, staying on the two-strokes, we were talking about the cylinder head now. They said they've gone to a larger volume, slightly reduced compression ratio to match their race bikes, which is counterintuitive. Normally you think, more compression, more racy, right?
Definitely, yeah. Look, a little bit lower compression, you would think it would probably take horsepower away a little bit, but it does make the bike a little bit more free revving, a little bit more smoother, and gives you a little bit more over rev with it.
Yeah, okay. Explain a bit about the capacitive ignition coil, which is sort of a complex term for a spark plug in effect, right? Why did that need upgrading this year?
So with the new ignition, it's a get system, and it gives us a greater spark, and which gives us possibly better spark plug life.
Okay. And look, talking about that, you know, one of the things that Sherco's always been renowned for, the cool thing is you've got your bar-mounted map switch, rather than, you know, a lot of bikes you change it like, shit, which map am I in? Genuinely, you're talking 4 or 5 horsepower here between the rain map or traction map versus the power map, right?
Definitely, there's a noticeable difference. We feel, you know, if you're in slippery conditions, you'll really notice the difference by being on the mild map, traction, and just rideability.
Yeah.
It's not so aggressive for you.
Okay. So, let's move on to 4-strokes. 250 and 300. 300 being the only 300 4-stroke of the market, and an Enduro bike. It's quite amazing. The connecting rod gone to a plain bearing for the big end. Just explain the thinking about service life, basically, right?
I think you're right for reliability and durability. And whilst it's been proven to be fine in the past, they've gone to a plain bearing. They've also changed the crankcases to improve the efficiency of the engine, the way it actually revs. So overall, it does make the engine a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fight.
Just the whole lubrication system itself is draining less power.
Yeah, draining less power, and it's not fighting against oil as it throws through its stroke. So,
okay. Yeah. Tilt sensor. It's got a tilt sensor now, so when it sits on the side, it doesn't burn a hole in your leg.
Yeah. So for two things, it's to protect the engine from if it's laying on its side over revving, and obviously to protect the rider as well.
So as I mentioned earlier, you know, we've got both the racing or the standard model here, which is a bit confusing for people because you come in, you hear racing and you're like, oh, good, I don't want the racing one, I want the standard one. The racing is the standard model. So and the factory model is the up-spec model. So typically, depending on the model, you know, capacity, you're talking between 1400 and 2200 differential.
Difference, yes.
The most obvious stuff. I mean, visually, you've got a blue seat, that Sella Della Vella seat. Yeah. But the suspension, that's the other thing. You move from the WP to the Kyb on the factory.
That would be the most obvious thing on the two-stroke, is the Kyb suspension. Like you say, the C cover, we've got different grips. We have got different brake rotors. This being a racing has the standard, and we've got a solid disc rotor.
Oh, and the Galfer on the a bit bigger on the front.
And Galfer on the front.
Yep.
We've got the thermo fan and also the recovery tank.
Like an overflow.
Which complements the cooling system for sure.
Okay, then a few other things. Obviously, both racing and factory come with the handguards, but the only factory comes with the Axp Skid Plate.
That's correct. So this racing has actually got one fitted to it, but it's an Axp brand. What the factory model does come with.
Okay. And I think they were blue rims last year, weren't they? The XLs, they've gone to black for this year?
Yes, so both racing and factory for 21 have got the black rims, and like I said before, they both pretty much look identical apart from the suspension at a glance.
Yeah, different coloured seat.
And the seat, of course,
and different suspension. Yeah. And let's not overlook with the 4-strokes, obviously probably the other big change when you look at, you know, what the cost of a titanium full exhaust is from Akrapovic.
That's a massive one.
Yeah.
So the factory with the additional Pokovich exhaust, that's a huge advantage having that on board as well for performance as well.
Lighter performance. Also some different mapping on the factory model. So the mapping combined with the exhaust, as I understand it, again, they're calling 4 or 5 horsepower.
Yeah, look, I think there's definitely 4 to 5 horsepower advantage from the factory model to the racing model, especially with the mapping and the Pokovich exhaust.
Yeah, okay. So look, interesting time, great, you know, you've had some real success with racing, you know, both yourself when you win championship, the 45s in 2017, you've had an under-19 championship, you've just last weekend gone 1, 2, 3 at Buddy Sherco at Wildwood. And over in America at that Red Bull Override, I think, you know, Sherco's gone 4 out of the top 5. So
I think it was, yeah.
Pretty good time to be involved, you know, Sherco's now in 67 countries around the world. I think Australia is now is the second biggest to France where they're made.
Yeah, that was the case, and I know America's doing really well for us, for Sherco, and look, it's exciting times for Sherco. We feel we've got a really good bike, and that can be competitive and match any other of the opposition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we're lucky enough to have 3 bikes from the range. We've got the 250 2-stroke racing, and then the 350 2-stroke factory, and the 300. Sorry, did I say 350? 300 2-stroke and 4-stroke factory model. So you know, what we're going to do is we've had some fun already riding out here today, but what we really like to get a bit of an insight into the, you know, the difference with this chromoly frame and the WP suspension on the standard model here versus the Kyb stuff that we've got on the factory, and then take the you know, the biggest selling bike, the 300 two-stroke factory model, put it up against the second biggest selling bike, the one that Matt Phillips, you know, Aussie Matt Phillips, gave Sherco Special World Championship back in 2016.
That's awesome, yeah.
Quite a different bike now though, and just compare those two. So, you know, two 300 models, two-stroke and four-stroke, kind of putting them back to back and give you guys a little bit of feedback about, you know, these things that are representative and selling so well as part of Sherco's range these days.